Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
The San Diego Council on Literacy brings you Literacy for All with your host, Jose Cruz.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Jose Cruz. You're listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio. And our guest is Dr. Kelli Sandman-Hurley. We were talking about IEPs, and I don't want to get too far away from this, Kelli. And here's what I want to say is you're a tough person. And it's like, be careful, don't mess with Kelli because she's no BS. You're serious about your work, professional, passionate, etc. So tell me what it's like to have Kelli Sandman-Hurley as your advocate in an IEP session, what you don't want to do a whole lot of anymore.
To have me, I know I don't know how to answer that question.
Well, let me just yeah, go ahead. I mean, it's got to be stressful and emotional. You're trying to help a person out, and you're dealing with the system, and so what let me see what aspect of this I want to focus on. What are the things that you have to deal with in that setting? What frustrates you the most?
Oh my God, the frustration. It's just not taking it very seriously. I don't feel like they're taking it seriously enough. I feel like they're delay. They constantly push back on the word dyslexia. They want to not say that word. They want to say that they're doing everything they're supposed to do, and I'm presenting them evidence that they're not. It's just that lack of urgency. There's no urgency there. There's no sense of urgency that this kid needs help and this kid needs help now. And I just don't think they take it seriously enough. And it's really frustrating. It's not even my child, and sometimes I'll come home and pick a fight with my family member
right.
because it's so frustrating,
Yeah.
And I just don't know what to do.
And that's what I was talking about. So here, tell me what is the I'm going to use the wrong word, but it's the best one I can think of right now. What is the agenda? What are you up against, or what are they up against? Why is there this resistance? Is it because they don't understand? They don't have the expertise? They don't have the money? They don't have the time? Okay, and I'm keeping off the list. They don't care. I believe they care, but for some reason, it seems like, in my understanding of things, that there's like doing everything, even to the point where attorneys are in the room, etc. People are going to get sued. Why does it come to this ultimately?
So I think it comes to that ultimately for everything you listed. It's the money. It's the time. They already think they're doing it. They don't have the training. If they admit that they did something wrong, then they have to pay. And I think there's some fear there, too, that if they admit to one family that they did it wrong, that just kind of opens the floodgates for the rest of the families with this similar cases. But I really don't know, because I feel like they really do put up a wall, and they won't really show their cards ever. So it's really hard to figure out. Like, sometimes the family, I'll advocate for them, and they'll get to a point, I'm like, you need an attorney. I've taken it as far as I can as just an advocate. Then they'll get an attorney, and some of them will get an attorney just because they think that if they win this case, then they're helping other kids. But that doesn't actually end up happening. They're really just helping their own family. The school doesn't actually change. And I think that's what's really frustrating, is a lot of these parents who do hire attorneys are doing it so that they can create change for other kids, but that's actually not happening. And that's probably the most frustrating part of it all.
And so assessment comes into play here, and people say, that's a bad word. We don't want to talk about assessment and diagnosis, etc. I have actually had people in the dyslexia circle say, why do people want to be assessed? What is your take on that? And my guess is you're an advocate for that.
Absolutely, because if you actually talk to the people who have been through this process, more than one person, it's really, really liberating to know what's wrong. It's really, really liberating to say, okay, this is what's wrong. Now I know how to fix it. This is what I have. Okay, it's not me. It takes the onus off of them. It takes the shame away. It takes a lot of that away, and then they can move forward from there.
Very
It's
good.
really important.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you guys were starting off, and I saw you saw the interest, and I was really excited about it. And then you've done something with it. I want to say it was about 10 years ago. There was new brain research released. You and Tracy jumped right on that, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, the Shaywood stuff? Yes.
Yes.
It was fascinating. It still is, yes.
Now,
For sure.
now, you and I are Facebook friends. I'm just trying to remember where I saw
Yeah.
this, yeah, and it's really hard. I just remember reading something from you where you said, "Wow, I just went to a presentation. It changed my whole perspective on what we're talking about here." Do you remember that?
Oh, gosh, I wish I did.
Okay, but I think it really had to do with.
That happens a lot.
Oh yeah, no. Well, okay, that's a good point. And maybe it is the point, but just we have our understanding about reading, the process of reading, decoding,
Yes.
etc. So
I do know what you're talking about.
okay, so what happened? Because I've always been curious, and I never asked you about that.
So that was like 7 years ago, right? Like
Yes,
6 or 7 years
it
ago?
was. It was.
Yeah, okay. So that's where I went to. We had a structured word inquiry person come to San Diego, and she trained, there's like 20 or 30 of us in structured word inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're sitting there, and she's telling us, she's a linguist, so she was showing us how English language is actually structured versus how we were teaching it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I felt like someone just ripped the blinders off my eyes, because she showed me something I should have known all along. And I was like, all these poor kids who had me before this session, I feel bad for them because I really didn't know. And so what she was talking about is, like, just as an example, we were talking about suffixes and how everyone is teaching T-I-O-N as a suffix. And for a kid with dyslexia, that's a really hard suffix to get.
Right.
So they'll always want to spell action like A-C-S-H-U-N. But she's like, no, the suffix is I-O-N. And when you figure that out, then the base is A-C-T, and the T belongs to the base, and therefore the suffix is I-O-N. I'm like, oh, my God. How did I not know that? So I mean, it changed everything for me. And then I went and got my own master's in linguistics because I wanted to be her.
There you go. Very good. So let me
Yeah.
ask you this question: all the things you're discovering, you're open to learning, and so you wrote Dyslexia Advocate, and then you wrote Dyslexia and Spelling. In between the two, did things change for you? The things that you learned in linguistics, did your approach and understanding and explanation of what's taking place with a person who's having to deal with dyslexia, did it change any?
So the linguistics didn't change the advocacy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all the same. But
Okay.
it definitely changed what I advocate for to a degree. So I still advocate for an Orton-Gillingham-based program if that's the best program for that particular student.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll also advocate for structured word inquiry if that's the best program for a particular student. So I just have more tools in my toolbox. And I'm able to go to an IEP meeting now and kind of use all my linguistic background to explain things to them that they didn't know, hoping that it'll help, but usually doesn't.
So you're doing the IEPs. Well, just for our listeners, because I'm just gonna ask the question: Is dyslexia surmountable in your experience? What percent of the time, if it's not?
Okay, this is such a good question. 100% yes. People with dyslexia will probably always have difficulty with spelling. They'll probably always be a little bit slower, but this is like a qualified answer. The only way it's going to be surmountable is if they have support. So if they have resources, if they have parents, if they have an advocate, if they have all of that community support, they're going to be just fine. But you know as well as I do in adult literacy that is not the whole story.
Mm-mm.
So like the adults that I met in adult literacy didn't have that support. They didn't have the money. They didn't have the familial support. For whatever reason, no judgment. They just didn't have it. And then, so those students are going to have a much harder time. So I went to a prison in February, right before this all happened, to interview some adults. And they told me they were there because of their dyslexia. But if they had had that support and those parents and community members and attorneys and advocates, they probably wouldn't have ended up in prison.
Amazing. So they.
It was so amazing.
And is this part of the 50 people you interviewed?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to know more.
I was going to go to 3 more, and then COVID hit. I'm so disappointed.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah, like you're going to go to prison and they're going to let you
No.
walk around and such. Before the break, and then we'll go into our last segment, how has technology made a difference in terms of helping out and part of that support that people need? Has it done anything?
So technology,
Yeah.
Absolutely. The accommodations are huge. So without accommodations, the students will have a really hard time. I'm a huge proponent of accommodations, but I'm a proponent of them as accommodations, not as an intervention. So you don't want to say, hey, here's a book on tape. Let's see, I'm old. A book on audio, but I'm not going to teach you how to read. Just go use your accommodation. So it has to be both, the intervention and the accommodation. But also, I don't want people to forget that spelling is really, really, really important. So don't tell somebody that forget about your spelling, there's spell check, because all of the adults that I talked to said spell check doesn't work for them, and not being able to spell is incredibly embarrassing. So we have to use the technology and accommodations, but not as a replacement for literacy.
Very good, very good. And so, right, and I think we do a whole lot of that. Oh, just right. It's just, we'll figure it out, et cetera. And it's actually another sign of the issues. I did want to ask more about spelling, but again, we're going into a break. So I do have questions about spelling, and then the accommodations, and then the interviews that you did, because here's our chance. Here we're going to get this information, what you were hearing from individuals whose lives have been so adversely affected because of dyslexia. So we'll be right back with Kelli Sandman-Hurley. I'm Jose Cruz. You're listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio, the worldwide leader in Internet talk.
I've heard this is like one of the best pizza spots in town.
Yes, it is.
I'll do a slice of pepperoni, slice of vegetarian.
You got it.
And I will pay for all of that in 3 days.
In 3 days? What's that mean?
Well, wait, you accept credit cards. That money's not going to hit your account for 3 days anyway.
I need my money quicker.
At Chase, we hear you. With Express Funding, card payments are in your Chase account the next business day. Go to chase.com/expressfunding. Chase for business, so you can.
Compensated participation. All businesses are subject to credit approval. Not all clients are eligible for next business day funding, and additional terms, conditions, and restrictions apply.
Donate cash, furniture, clothes, and other gently used household items to Father Joe's Villages and get a nice tax break in April. Every donation is tax deductible. Believe you can make a difference. Be Father Joe. Go to neighborhood.org or call 1-800-HOMELESS to donate today.
Life is full of misadventures, from car crashes to home fires to getting choked out on the mat. Yes, I said getting choked out because I'm Carlos Kramer, jiu-jitsu competitor, MMA and media personality, and mild-mannered insurance agent. You can follow my adventures on Kick-Ass Radio, and I can protect you from life's misadventures at Kramer Insurance. Home, auto, life, business, and workers' comp. We're at KramerINS.com, and I want you to join my world.
This is Bill Gruber with BizVid Communications, a Southern California video production leader. We've been honored to sponsor, produce, write, and host many of the fine programs on WS Radio over the years. So we understand how important the internet and your website exposure are. As video producers, we know the tricks and secrets to incorporate video to increase your search engine optimization and business success. Visit bizvidcommunications.com to see what we can do for you. BIZVID communications.com.
Too much to do? Not enough time to get it done? Call on the experts at Another 8 Hours for your business support needs. By partnering with Another 8 Hours, we allow you to focus on the more important matters, like being in front of your clients, doing what you do best, rather than being stuck at a desk poring over paperwork, rummaging through emails, returning phone calls, and struggling to get everything done by yourself. Meanwhile, your family and social life are going down the drain. Go to another8hours.com or call 8 more hours. That's 866-734-6877.
Hi, this is Rob Barnett, VinVillage.com, where wine lovers connect. Be sure to tune in weekly to Vin Village Radio for exclusive, in-depth interviews with the who's who in wine and food.
Can you imagine a world without children? A world where children don't play, or dream, or imagine?
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're working every day to find cures for diseases that strike down children, because we can't imagine a world without children. Can you?
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. To learn how you can help, log on to our website, stjude.org.
Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
The San Diego Council on Literacy brings you Literacy for All with your host, Jose Cruz.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Jose Cruz from the San Diego Council on Literacy. You're listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio. Our guest is Dr. Kelli Sandman-Hurley. Kelli, first of all, I want to thank you for helping me ask my questions.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. For letting you ask what?
Helping me ask my questions. I sometimes know what I want to ask, but I'm not putting it into the right words. So you're doing a good job deciphering.
That might be me not understanding.
It's radio. We're having fun with it. And so let me ask you. I think I'm fascinated actually that you've been doing these interviews with inmates in correctional facilities. That they understand that one reason they're there is because they struggled with reading, they had dyslexia. What were some of the other things that you were finding out in your conversations with them, and why were you there in the first place?
So I only got to go to one, so I met a few inmates, but I was there because, I was going to, I don't even know if I should say this, but I was going to interview Gavin Newsom because he has dyslexia.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to interview him, and then all of this stuff happened, and I just don't feel like bugging him at the moment.
Right.
I think he might be kind of busy. So I emailed and asked if there was a way I could go meet some inmates to talk about this. And so that's why I was there. Because I was also there because at Reed San Diego, I mean, as you know, so many of our adult literacy students have been in and out of prison.
Yes.
So I knew it was a common theme. But I wanted to go and see, like, I've always had a fascination with prison. I'm going to admit that. But I wanted to go see what they were learning in their classrooms. I wanted to see if what they were doing in the prison was really going to help them increase and improve their literacy so that when they got out, they would have less of a chance of returning. And so I did get to go, and I got a great tour. They spent the whole day with me. They were so great. And I went and sat in some classrooms. I got to talk with a lot of teachers. And then I met the inmates, and the inmates were like, the one guy in particular who I was saying was literally there because he couldn't read something that he signed, and so he ended up stealing a car, essentially, because he couldn't read it. So he thought he was buying a car. And then he got arrested driving away. And I'm like, oh, so just like the look on his face. And part of me is like, because we worked on adult literacy for so long, I felt like I knew all these stories, but to hear that story while you're sitting in a prison is a little different. And so, he's got kids, and I felt like this guy got so robbed. He got robbed. It's unfair. It's just not fair that he's there because people didn't understand how to help him. He's a perfectly intelligent guy, and so it's just heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking.
Right, and I've been doing this work for 35 years. You have almost as long, and the stories still hit as hard as ever. When
they do.
Right? And you still feel what's happened with folks, and it breaks your heart, and it inspires us. So I'm glad you and Tracy have gone right into the thick of it with this work. So right. So tell me, because we want some good news too, and there's been a lot of good news in the fact that you're doing this and that you're accessible and succeeding in your work. All that makes us feel better about things that are taking place. My question is this: your favorite success stories, or just one success story, or what you see typically when people come in and they say, "Hey, man, we did the right thing. We came here and we got the help that we were looking for. Now my son, my daughter, myself, whatever, our lives are better. This helped us out." What tell us anything in that arena in terms of customer satisfaction?
Well, yeah, there's definitely a lot of that. I tend to focus on the negative. I'm bad that way, but I just feel like there's so many people that need help out there. I have to focus on the negative. But there is the positive. A lot of times I'll be at an IEP meeting and I'll feel like I didn't do anything. Like I feel like I just sat there, nodded my head a lot, or maybe gave the parents some advice. but then we'll walk out of the meeting and the parent will say that meeting was 100% different just because you were sitting there. So, things like that happen, or, their kids got what they needed because I was able to help them get a good IEP and good services. So there are things that have helped. Obviously, I've tutored students and adults who are very grateful for the help. And just once they get the help, there's always going to be a good story. They just need someone to sit down with them and understand. And the parents really need someone to sit down with them and tell them what they can and cannot do, and tell them what the laws are and what their rights are. And once they're armed with all of that, most of the parents can go ahead and do it on their own. But being able to help them through it, because it's really emotional. Even Tracy, I hope she won't mind me telling this story, but she went to an IEP meeting for her son. I called her the night before. I'm like, are you sure you don't want me to go? She's like, come on, I'm an advocate, Kelly. I can go by myself. And then she had to end the meeting because she couldn't do it by herself, because it's too hard to do for your own kid. It's too emotional.
Right.
So there is a lot of good that comes from what we do. We do get a lot of positive feedback.
And we want people to know that. I know this is something that you're doing every day, and for different age groups, and it's life changing. And like I said, we know sometimes what happens to folks who don't get the help that they need. So thank you for your work. Let me ask you this, and we support public education and public educators, and we know the administrators have a tough job to do. And all. Do you see a time coming when we will do a better job of institutionalizing the whole piece of things that involves learning differences and learning challenges, where we're doing a better job in preparing our educators and having the resources that we need, so that all kids are getting the help that they need?
I know I'm supposed to answer this positively. I don't think I can, because I don't see it yet. Tracy and I always say we're never going to be out of a job, because right now things just aren't changing. And so until the universities and the teacher education programs acknowledge that this is a problem and enter it into the pre-service teaching credential curriculum, nothing's really going to change. There's just too much misinformation out there. There's too much politics involved. But I'm hoping it will.
And there's a lot of money out there, right? And just in terms of curriculum development and publications and such.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you
sure.
for answering that question and answering it honestly, because we're not going to fix things unless we understand that there are these things in play that are affecting our children. Well, we have about a minute and a half. Any last things that you want to say to our audience? Kelli has 2 books, Dyslexia Advocate and Dyslexia and Spelling. She's very good at what she does. She's a learner and a good communicator and passionate. And we're so glad to have you on the show, Kelli. How do you want to say bye to everybody?
Just thank you very much for having me, and write all those nice things right back to you, Jose, because you know how much I appreciate everything you've done for us as well. Thank you.
Well, it's been fun and educational. I've been your job, like I say, it's never going to end. Elizabeth Jacobson, she actually worked for us. We just lost her about a month ago because she got a job as a reading specialist. She got an offer she couldn't refuse out in Arizona. She saw that you were coming on the show. She said, I need to talk to her. And seeing if she'll do something for our teachers. So.
Awesome! Yeah. Send her our way.
Yeah, but so there, again, there's this need out there. We need more of what you're doing, more of what Tracy's doing, Dyslexia Training Institute, and more of the advocacy, the work that you're doing for the parents who really, they really struggle. And like I said, you're making a world of difference. Give us your email address again, or your website address.
The website is dyslexiatraininginstitute.org.
Very good. Kelli, thank you. We're going to ask you to come back in the future, so I hope you'll do that, you or Tracy, or both of you, and that'll be fantastic. Yeah. You've been listening to our interview with Dr. Kelli Sandman-Hurley. We're on WS Radio. This is the Literacy for All radio show, and join us for our next broadcast on literacy-related material. Thank you for listening.
raised $8,000 to build schools for South African children. After realizing how many people go hungry in San Diego, I now volunteer at a food pantry.
I'm spending the next year doing volunteer projects across 3 countries and helping in ways they designate to be the most helpful.
The World Link program at the Joan B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice recognizes the potential of youth as agents of social change. Learn how you can help youth become a generation of leaders in action at peace.sandiego.edu.
In the military, things can change in an instant. Your personal life is just the same. Just like you protect our country, you want your family protected. That's why thousands of military members trust Navy Mutual Life Insurance. Navy Mutual is nonprofit, providing current and former Navy, Marine, and Coast Guard families with life insurance, no sales fees, and no military service restrictions. Protecting members on active duty and beyond. Call 1-800-628-6011, 800-628-6011, NavyMutual.org, insuring those who serve.
Nowadays, internet devices are an integral part of your home. Everyone in your family has a smartphone, tablet, or a computer. Life is easier knowing that all your devices are secured and your family can surf the internet carefree. ESET Multi-Device Security Pack does just that. One license for all your devices. With ESET, it's simple to stay protected and save money. Enjoy safer technology with ESET Multi-Device Security Pack at ESET.com. That's ESET.com.
I've heard this is like one of the best pizza spots in town.
Yes, it is.
I'll do a slice of pepperoni, slice of vegetarian.
You got it.
And I will pay for all of that in 3 days.
In 3 days? What's that mean?
Well, wait, you accept credit cards. That money's not going to hit your account for 3 days anyway.
I need my money quicker.
At Chase, we hear you. With Express Funding, card payments are in your Chase account the next business day. Go to chase.com/expressfunding. Chase for business, so you can.
Compensated participation. All businesses are subject to credit approval. Not all clients are eligible for next business day funding, and additional terms, conditions, and restrictions apply.
Tired of presentations with no impact, no inspiration, and no traction? Do dull speakers have you and your team disengaged and distracted by smartphones? Christopher McCullough brings energy, insights, and 2 decades of experience, delivered with punch, humor, and heart. Your team will leave energized, uplifted, and with a sense of purpose. Visit ChristopherMcCullough.com to bring some heat to your next speaking engagement. McCulloughe. ChristopherMcCullough.com.
Hey, it's Catherine from Listen Local Radio. Moe's Guitars has proudly served the San Diego music community since 1975. Specializing in guitars, basses, mandolins, banjos, and ukuleles, they buy, sell, trade, and consign. If you're looking for lessons, repairs, accessories, and cool gear, you found the right place. Located in downtown La Mesa Village, stop by and check out their digs or visit moesguitars.com or their Facebook page. MOZEguitars.com, 619-698-1185.